The horrors, Liz.
The horrors.
Hello. I'm coming. I promise. Hello and welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzy edition. I had to think
Did you
of
have
what
to
day.
think about
Yeah,
that?
I had to think about what day it was.
I thought last night when I went to bed that today was going to be Friday, so I'm just all out of whack. But hello, and welcome to the sideshow, but the Dear Becky and Lizzy edition. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner. I'm standing up because I have to show this off before I sit down. I'm not done. You can see all the ends. Let me try that again. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in super rainy and wet, and we're all gonna get washed out, flooded, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a flood watch for all the flooded out areas from the last big.
I was gonna say a flood watch for the flooded areas. That's
for
good.
like Caruso and.
Oh yeah, I
all
can't
the-
even
yeah.
imagine the places that got hit by Fred. Like we got hit by Fred, but they got hit worse by Fred. The French Broad was at its banks when I was driving in. The Hap Simpson wasn't flooded yet, which means there's room for growth.
Bernie dumps out the rain gauge every morning,
Mm-hmm.
and between yesterday morning and walking out to the car this morning, we had 4.5 inches of rain.
That's a lot. So I finished my sleeves, so you can see my ends hanging off my sleeves. I just wanted to show you all
Because
they're
weaving
nice.
in ends.
Because well, I haven't finished the sweater yet, so of course I haven't woven in my ends. But you know, snug sleeves. I think the length is just right though. I think this is good, and especially if I'm gonna wear it like this, it's fantastic. What I haven't done yet is that button band in the front. I really, honestly, I didn't get hardly anything done last night. I started a hat. I didn't finish the hat I showed Joe yesterday, which I'll talk about in a second. I started a hat with the new yarn because of course I did. But I didn't get very far. I
told you I wound 2 bobbins. I was gonna make a new dress, and I sat at my sewing
Did you tell
machine.
me you were gonna make a new dress? Or
No,
you reported later in the
I
evening.
reported later on. I was like, I have it cut out. I'm gonna make it, and I wound 2 bobbins, and that's about as far as I got.
That's farther than I would have gotten with stuff
And
like
then
that.
I was like, you know what?
So this is all curled. This is the easy eyelet yoke cardigan. Look, I can see the eyelets. Look at that. It's a nasty day, so why not have something bright and shiny on? Although I probably won't wear it all day because it's got all the ends hanging off of it. But stockinette curls, like it's actually wider than it looks when I'm wearing it. Stockinette curls a whole bunch, which is why I still will probably put the button band on, even though this almost looks like a finished sweater. So I'm hoping that next week you can see the finished product. May or may not have ends woven in. Probably won't have it blocked yet. We're having discussion on whether it needs to be blocked, which actually leads into one of our questions today, but we'll get to it. I wasn't going to jump right into that, but there's an issue with blocking that we might be discussing today. So, yeah, so this is actually very comfy and cozy right now, and this is going to be wonderful in the wintertime. Oh my gosh. This yarn is Wool Addicts Air, right?
Yes.
I get them all confused. And some of you might have just noticed my watch was trying to figure out what I was trying to look up. I did not activate Siri. It's really weird sometimes. I think it has a mind of its own. I'm gonna forget all the things that I wanted to talk about today before. Like, I don't have any mice stories. I'm sorry, guys. Like, the cat did not wake me up with mice stories. I woke up in the middle of the night, but not because of the cat. But excuse me. Whew.
The horrors we were discussing as we came on.
We were discussing. Oh yes.
My shawl. I told Rebecca I have so many mistakes in it, and I just don't care anymore.
But I was replying like, that's the thing with crochet is you can fudge stuff and no one's gonna know.
I have a 9 where I should have 10. I have
The
a 3
horrors.
and a 1 where I should have 2, and you know,
I've definitely fudged
Rebecca
that big
asked
blanket.
if she wanted me to, or I needed her to follow me around to show them.
Because that's
off.
what she says to me every time I talk about
I
mistakes.
said yes,
Yeah.
but
I have to
it's
find
really
them.
hard to find them.
I don't think, see,
So.
that's beautiful. If someone looks at that and says, I count 9 where there should be 10, you should just smother them with it.
It's got
You know?
holes, so they'd still be able to breathe.
Oh, if you wrap it around enough times, it'll work. That's the whole method. That's the whole theory behind Swiss cheese, right? For keeping COVID away. Enough layers.
Enough layers.
Can't get through.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm retroactively doing anyway.
Yeah.
So
It's coming out.
It's gorgeous. It is so absolutely gorgeous. So yesterday I put a caption on, but I want to clarify. Yesterday I was like, we don't have that color. There's no color. When I went to order on the computer, I didn't scroll below the fold, as they say, because I was like, here are all the colors. There's 2 rows of colors. There were 2 colors on a 3rd row I didn't scroll to.
And neither one of us noticed that there wasn't a blue in the palette.
We just, I mean, I don't know. Like, that's another thing we're going to talk about is palettes, and the Billy Kate palette. I shouldn't have moved that yarn. We can get it back in a second. And so sometimes palettes are, palette is the range of colors. Sometimes it's weird. Sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes I just don't question it. But that have a brand new yarn and a pattern with a color we didn't have, I knew something was up. And so I had said yesterday, maybe it's back ordered, and I ordered it and I forgot. It turns out there are 2 more colors that we missed. They're both in the blue hues, because blue is just incredibly popular. So yes, it was weird that there wasn't a blue. I think we were so busy and crazy and so much going on, it didn't register that there wasn't a blue. So I've ordered it. I've ordered both of the blues, just because this one ocean, I'm betting it's a little darker than this. Like, all of the colors on the computer screen, they came in darker. Still beautiful, but darker.
Like the red that you're making the hat with and the red in the sweater look not the same.
Yeah. Photography for yarn companies often brightens things up to a point that it's like, that's not my yarn. What are you talking about? So yeah, it looks like almost like a cherry red here. Red is incredibly hard to photograph.
Reds and blues.
Red tends to like I'm looking for the right word. It hums. It looks like it's neon on film, quote unquote film, because it's the phones and everything. But this is a much more darker ruby red than the picture here. And so when I try to take photography like I did for my hat this morning, because the reason I'm holding one wound up is I'm making a hat with it. Because technically red is a Sun Dragon color. Look, these are our colors. So I have to, sometimes I have to take the warmth out of it to get the right color of red. I have to play around with the settings on my phone. So I started this hat in these colors. This is the carmine and the marble, and 2 colors we didn't get, in case you go do your own detective work on their site. It's 2 of the colors that are in this picture. We got the marble, but we didn't get one. I think it was called maybe stone, or did we get the smoke? Okay, I see a smoke here. And the smoke was more of, this is like a warm gray. The other one was more of a cool gray. And we did not get in this one, there's a charcoal. We got the one called charcoal, but it's off black. So again, not to keep you waiting any longer, but I saw this. I was like, what's this? This is the end of my sweater. Okay, sorry. This is the mosaic hat in those colors. I'm trying different colors. Cool. It's really pretty. It's really, really pretty. And it's really simple. There's knitting and slipping stitches with both colors right now. The gray color gets to do some purling and slipping of stitches. There's not even enough of this though to put on. Oh, my gauge might be, well, I can't tell till it gets a little further. This looks really funny. There's 2 sizes to this hat, and I made the smaller size, and I can't tell because it's not far away enough away from this needle, which is only 16 inches, to really see if it fits on my head. When it gets a little further, I may test it on my head and decide I should have made the bigger size. I did not test my gauge. I just dove in because it's a hat. What could go wrong? Liz
It'll
knows
probably
things can go wrong.
fit the mannequins' heads a little bit better.
Well, yeah, because they're teeny tiny.
I know.
But I want one that will fit me. So I might remake this. We'll see. But I have to report that this yarn is super, it's like, it's squishier knit up than it feels in the skein. It's one of those yarns. Like a lot of the yarn we carry, it's really hard to tell from squishing the skein how it's going to knit up. It may not, because you may say, ooh, that's rough, or ooh, that's tight. And that's because it's how they've balled it or skeined it. This is lovely and squishy, and the ply is such that it's not a super tight twist, but there's lots and lots of plies to it. And what I noticed when I was casting on is it can look like it's coming untwisted, but it's not. It'll look like it's coming untwisted as you're doing this to it when you're casting on, but it will be fine. So I am very happy with this yarn already. I will have to hold off on making something as big as a sweater out of it. But for a shawl, for a hat, so many possibilities. We have the patterns, like we told you yesterday. If you buy enough yarn when it's on sale this week or another time for a sweater, I will give you one of these sweater patterns included for no charge if you're buying enough yarn for the sweater. But we might have to order you yarn to have enough yarn for the sweater. Check with us. Don't just assume, hey, if I buy this stuff online, I'll get the pattern, because we might have run out. We only have like 3 of each right now. I've ordered more of the hat because I see people wanting to use the hat. And if we have it in stock in a paper copy, we're happy to give you a copy with yarn purchase. So we're hoping to get those other colors. By the way, I think I didn't mention, we've got this, the ocean, and what was it called? Slate
or steel.
I knew it was something stony, metal-y something. And the steel, I'm guessing is going to be like a steel blue. It's lighter and it may have a gray tone to it, but we have to wait and see when it comes in. I'm hoping it will come in before the sale ends. I'll try to get it up as soon as it does. We'll see. We'll evaluate that if it doesn't come until next week. But I just had to show you this and say, get this yarn while it's 15% off because it's lovely. I'm knitting on a 10.5 needle. The other thing I wanted to touch base on before we jump into the questions, and I'm doing the same thing I did yesterday. We got going late, but I said I was going to talk about this today because I didn't really talk about it yesterday. I'm hoping I only got like one more row done on this. This is all the remnants of my 5 skeins. I had visions of coming in and putting up all the heads right in front of us and talking about this. That might just have to wait till next week because we have to do Becky and Lizzy things. But the 5 skeins of Lily Kate Axis, of which we only have 1 green left currently. It's been so popular. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I can't really make kits yet. I might be able to make some blue kits, all the shades of blue, because we're out of it, but I've ordered more. So if it hit the magic unicorn window from the UK, the Lily Kate's Axis, it was supposed to be shipped yesterday. I didn't get verification, but sometimes they only send me it's going to be shipped, and then suddenly it's out for delivery. If it hit all of the magic portals at just the right time, we could be getting it today or tomorrow. If it didn't, it might be next week or later that we actually get our refills where I can make lots and lots of kits of this lovely yarn. Like, oh, here it is. Okay. This is a little softer because it's thinner and we've got the alpaca in it, but they're both squishy and soft.
Well, and you were reading that the La Pampa blooms when it's washed.
On their advertising, yes, online they say it will bloom lovely when it's washed. And how would you interpret that, Liz? What does it mean when it says it's going to bloom?
So, like most all yarn,
excuse me, ooh,
blooms. It gets nice and it fills out.
So okay, it fills out. So it kind of goes poof.
Yeah.
Not that it gets fuzzy.
No, it comes to life a little bit more. It'll get softer.
It huffs up. Right.
One of the yarn people that come to SAF, Northern Lights yarn.
Yes. And there are ones that when I feel the ball, they're like, it's lovely yarn. And I feel the skein and I'm like, huh, feels a little rough.
Their yarn
But it's beautiful.
blooms while you're knitting with it. Like it just
it goes
wants
through the
to be
fingers.
messed with to get bloom to bloom, and it blooms beautifully.
Which is why they have so many samples at their booth, because you have to feel it once it's knit up.
But
and we can't do that with every single
depending
yarn
on the
here.
process of how they make it, it can bloom at different times. We're more like twists will bloom. If it's a chainette or something, it doesn't really need to. But
I'm trying to dance. It's really bad. What?
if it's a chainette, it doesn't need to bloom. Or like Rebecca's sweater is kind of fuzzy.
It's just floofy to
It
begin with. It's just like,
but it'll get softer. It'll, know.
And what they say with the La Pampa, it will bloom after washing. They don't mean throw it in the washing machine. I would not call this machine washable. The organic part of it means it's not super wash. It hasn't been chemically treated. It will shrink if you throw it in but to wash it, to block it, which again, we're going to circle back to, use a little bit of wool wash, hand wash it. It's just letting the fibers saturate and do their thing and dry. It's going to possibly morph a little, which is part of the whole, I don't need to block this, but a washing of it is kind of do that anyway. Yeah. Okay, let me finish with this guy so we can talk the actual Dear Becky and Lizzy, which we keep hinting at. So I had my 5 colors of Lily Kate Axis, and they're all in this one. I had tons. This one, the blue shift, on my other 4 hats. If you go look, I think I've put pictures online and stuff, or I will today, as I'm putting kits together or making the stickers for kits that I don't have yarn for right now. The blue shift I used a lot for like the middle or the top diamond. Like I didn't use it much for anything else in all the other hats, so it didn't take much yarn. So I had tons of it left. So I used it for the brim and like 1 row of knitting above the brim, and I'm now using it for the top for the sky. And I think there's enough here. I think I'll be able to finish. So there was tons of this left. There were little bitty balls of everything else left. So the green, I used the green for and I even had to take the pattern down. You're supposed to do 4 rows of knitting before you hit the little triangles. I did, I think I only did like 1 row of knitting, maybe 2. I think I only did 1 though. Like I did 1 row with the blue shift, 1 row with the penumbra, the green, and I headed into the little triangles that make this first round down here. And on knit night, I said, I'm going to run out. I'm going to run out. I'm going to run out. The last row, you're carrying it behind 5 stitches and doing 1 stitch. And in doing that, I have to hope that my floats didn't get too tight because I was playing yarn chicken. I had this much left. I made it with this much left with my yarn chicken. Now that is a successful yarn chickening. I beat the yarn.
The nice thing about this yarn is since it's 90% merino and not superwash at that, you can spit join. So
I didn't even try that, but yeah.
So
in theory, I haven't tested that.
Unlike your llama or your lace shawl that you had to weave in every little end because you had to clip hats. If you had to go and
that silk one, yes.
If you had to go and clip more strands for your green,
in theory I could do
a split join would actually help.
Okay, so the next color up was the Aurora, and I was like, I've lost the ball for that. No, I have this really long tail. This is how much I was left with when I did the diamonds of the second mountain peak with the Aurora. I had a little bit left, but I just ran out. This means that someone else doing the same thing I'm doing might be just as successful or might run short. It all depends on gauge, and it's really crazy. And if I had used my tails more effectively, like I had some long tails left over from my long tail cast on at the bottom, I might have had more than enough yarn for the green on this. If I had said, there's a long tail left, I'm going to recast on, so I have a shorter tail. The blue, I still had some blue left, I think. Hang on. But I had this much blue left. I decided to do snowcap peaks with this. I say blue. They're all kind of blue. I had this much yarn left with my Event Horizon. I only did 2 rows with my Parallax, and that's the one right now I've got the most left of. It's the one I had the least left of when I started this hat, but I only used it for 2 rows with only about 4 stitches on each mountain for between the 2 rows. I probably could have started my little Snowcap Peaks 1 row earlier with 5, and that would have looked cool too. So I have this much left of 2 of the colors. I have to finish the hat with this. If I run out of this, I could technically make like a little cloud at the top of the hat with this. If I am trying to show you ways that you can, if you get 5 skeins of the axis, you could eke out 5 actual hats. Like it could happen. Could that mean if you followed the pattern without color changing, you could get 1 hat out of each skein? Maybe. I don't know. I didn't test it that way. It's hard to say. Color work both eats up more yarn and doesn't, in that, you've got stranding behind, but it means some of the yarn colors aren't doing every single stitch on every single row. That can actually help it last longer when you're mixing and matching colors. So yeah, so that's this. And
different sizes. Like if you're yarn chickening your 5th hat, it might be easier to make a baby hat than a full-fledged.
Well, yes, there is always and Liz keeps bringing this up. Maybe you should just make some baby hats, Liz.
I'm not. I'm trying to help you.
She is trying. She is bringing up a valid point. If you're not if you're making hats for different age people in your family, and some of them are younger, you can get more hats out of the same amount of yarn.
Or if everybody in your family has a bigger head and takes the adult large, you're not going to wind up with 5 hats.
Yes, because this is the adult small. Anyway, so
if you're doing,
yes, I don't make promises I can't keep. I have frozen them out of the adult small size. My gauge might be different than yours. There are ways to fudge it, like Liz is saying.
Yes.
So, I will finish this hat, but y'all might not see it until Tuesday. So maybe we'll do another fashion show on Tuesday. We'll see. We should get to our questions. We'll probably have to go into 10 o'clock because
waiting for the last 15 minutes of our show to do questions is
entertaining. What?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I just had to get this stuff in because I was going to forget by next week. Either of the questions relate to what I have in my head right now.
Both of the questions kind of do.
So I'm going to keep this on my head with my little needles.
Needles. An accessory for every headwear.
Yes, Liz, what's the question?
Dear Becky and Lizzy, I noticed that the new yarn Lily Kate makes Axis, that there are 4 blues and only 1 lonely green. I come across this in other yarns where there are way more blues than greens. Is it harder for dyers to produce green than blue, or is it just a fad for this year? Go green.
I missed the dyer part of it, of the question, but when you were either sending it to me or sharing it before, but I have no idea about that part of it. If it's, I don't know if it's harder to dye greens. I don't think so. But who knows? Her palette, we were discussing.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you want to say? You were like on the verge of saying something.
Every artist has their own palette of colors. Like Fiber Spates has way more blues. They do have different greens, but not as many as the blues. And I don't know, for some reason, greens are just, they're hard, like reds. We've noticed
so many shades.
We've noticed over the last 4 years that a lot of the palettes are changing out different. Like one of the color ways that we have, they were like, let's get rid of red. Or brown.
This doesn't have like this palette. I'm holding up the ones we're talking about right now, but Lily Kate's palette doesn't have an orange.
No.
The red is an orangey red, kind of, but so I mean, I would start with she tried to narrow it down to 12 colors, and that's incredibly hard. But yes, technically 4 of the 12 you could put in the blue category, so that's fascinating and weird, right? Like she doesn't have a full range. There's no purple, right? So she made choices. She might have gone that direction and decided she just likes blue better. But I will say that when we're trying to order colors in general, yeah, we had someone, by the way, who came in yesterday looking at the hats, and this was too dark of a green for her, but it's the only green there, right? And I love green. I'm a green fan, definitely. When we're ordering yarns and we have to pick from a huge number of colors, like more than the 12 color palette was easy. It was like, let's try them all. Yay. The one for the La Pampa has 16 colors and we got it down to 14. We cut 2 out, right?
And 2 grays.
And because there were a lot of gray, that's another one. Like there's million shades of gray, and cutting them out was actually really hard because they were nice grays. But I've found that it's really hard to only pick one blue. It's the weirdest thing. It's like I have a less tough time. I know it's almost like a double negative to maybe pick one green or one, but picking only one blue, because I think blues are just incredibly popular.
They have been historically. Like,
yeah, and
just it's
we had a customer in yesterday that we couldn't find the right shade of blue. We have a billion blues and we didn't have the right shade. That's happened before.
I think for larger yarn like Cascade 220 and Plymouth and companies that are making a large scale, it is easier to go, hey, I want every color in the palette, because they can do 50 shades of everything. And for some of the, like Lily Kate makes is a small, super small batch. I mean, it's not indie dyed, but it's
selective.
It's a small thing.
And I mean, I think we were fortunate to have these to do our Blue Ridge Mountain hats. But here's the other thing about, and you could make the same argument for shades of green. But here's the other thing is like navy, turquoise, aqua, and light blue. Like they actually fit different categories. They're kind of blues, but some people, this is the hill they will die on, that turquoise is not blue or aqua is not blue. And we roll with that. If that's the hill they want to die on, we're not going to say, no, that's just a shade of blue. but these, I would also put these all in the blue category. But it's like, yeah, when we're looking with reps and they're like, you got a blue, but you don't have a turquoise, but you don't have an aqua. And yeah, it gets crazy. And the same thing, I mean, with greens, we can have the Kelly green and the olive green, and they're very different. There's incredibly different greens. But for some reason, there's just this huge wide range of things that you might want to call blue, but some people are not going to call, like, it's, well, I can look over at our 220 superwash over there, and there's a lot more shades of things that I would put in the blue range than other colors of the rainbow. It gets hard.
We were ordering yarn from Cascade 220, just straight up, not superwash, and there are a billion colors of it. And
and that was a fun green adventure.
Trying to find a fir green where it's got the blue hues to it,
kind of a hunter green.
Yeah, that hunter, fir spruce green.
Super hard.
Everybody like has their ideas of what that is. Like somebody asked me, well, what color is that? And I read them the color off the label and they were like, huh, because that's not the color they thought of. Like,
and I mean, on top of that, there's also there's the possibility, if we want to get into the science of it all, that different people see colors in different ways. Like, especially with the red, green cone colorblind thing, like, so we do our best to describe the colors and the things, but it is, I mean, whoever wrote that email, I agree with you. I wish there were more shades of green. I also wish there were other colors in the I mean, it's a lovely palette. I have no idea, like part of her stories, before the stories only last so long, so I can't find it anymore to show it to you. She had a slide up about the number of color swatches she was looking through, the little almost paint chip looking things, to try to pick her 12 color palette. And I can't even imagine how hard that was to come up. And you want to have something that's balanced, and
she may, depending on how popular the yarn is, she may expand the palette over time.
I think there's a good chance this is brand new yarn. Like again, La Pampa's brand new and they came out with 16 colors. She came out with 12. There's something about a nice like round number, right? So a lot of yarns, if they're not like workhorse industrial yarns, when they start, they will not have a large range of colors and then they'll start expanding. Like we can point out yarns on the wall that they've retired more colors than they have available now, and they've cycled through them. And that could have to do with market research on what colors are popular. It could have to do with what dyes are available, because we have ones that we think are ridiculously popular in our shop and they'll be like, yeah, we're not making that anymore. It could be when they switch mills and countries like Cascade has done, the color doesn't look the same anymore, so they just do away with it. We have no idea. It's a very good question.
And like, no, it predicting colors for now and the future is even harder than predicting the weather. Like everybody's like, ooh, gray and yellow
And-
last year were colors of the year.
And
it's
Pantone
like,
does these predictions that it's like, huh,
and it was,
well, things were made in those
but
colors.
things were
They
made.
kind of worked, but it was weird.
It
But
wasn't
some
our
want- some
favorite
people love it.
colors. So
So that's my thing on that is not only in Lily Kate Makes, but I feel like a lot of the options we have to order yarn in, there will be a lot more shades of blue, turquoise, aqua, ultramarine, things that fit in the blue category. There will be a lot more options. It's just it's weird how popular it is, and even in that popularity, we can't please everybody. It's crazy. So, but I'm with you. I am much more of a green fan, and I will make things out of green anytime I can.
I love green, but just in the 4 years I've worked at a yarn shop, we have far more people coming in looking for blue. It's safe. It's a safe color. Green is not as safe, although you'd think it could be, but blue goes with everything, or
I
it's
think
like
green does too, but yeah,
it's a safe color.
It's more of a like boy color, even though we can have the conversation that pink used to be a boy color. Like, so for baby stuff, it's a safer route for boy babies. There aren't that many gender neutral colors. It's weird. There should be. It depends on who's getting it. Like in traditional like
But
nomenclature.
even for ladies making a cardi, we
Mhm.
have way more ladies coming in going
They want
blue.
they want
It's
like
just
the denim color.
It's just the safer
Mhm.
option.
Yeah.
I'm like, live your inner self and do the red or the yellow or a
Yes.
green. And we do have people coming in looking for green sweaters, but
Not
on
as
the
much.
whole, it's more blues.
And so that's where the yarn companies go when they're making yarn. So write your yarn companies, insist on more green, and maybe we'll see more. What's our other question?
Blocking hats. Dear Becky and Lizzy, since you are making hats, do you block them? I have been making hats, and when I block them, they get more stretched, and I like a snug fit. Thanks, and enjoy watching you girls.
It all depends on how you block it, probably. I would say a lot of my hats I do not block. It's the whole blocking with wear thing. Like my Alaska hat, which might look better if I blocked it. It's got color work. Like color work can look better if you block it. In theory, the stitches will settle, the floats might settle. I remember the first color work sweater I made looked like, excuse my French, looked like ass when I made it. The floats were a little, the whole thing puckered a little bit, and I blocked it and it looked a million times better. And I was like, oh. And that might have had to do with the yarn too. My Alaska hat, I'm not going to run and get it because we don't have that much time left. I have not blocked it yet. I keep, every time I look at it and show it to a customer, I think that it might look better if I did. But like I think I did block the white squirrel hat that's up there. We're looking at things you guys can't see. Sorry.
Yeah, but I don't think you blocked the flowery one in the.
Yeah, the night blooms.
Yeah, night blooms.
Mm-mm. So it all depends. If it's my thing with hats is if it already looks decent and fits, I probably won't block it. Like these hats, I may not have the time to block. What I think a lot of people when they make hats and they block them, depending on how they block them, and I can't guarantee a magic solution to this, it stretches. It's kind of the same as making a sweater or a shawl. If you aggressively block it because you want to even out the stitches, and you're like messing with it to try to make it all like if you're pulling on it when you block it, it's going to get bigger. It's going to take the shape of how you're blocking it. And like we've talked about with sweaters, when it gets wet and the fibers are saturated, it can grow, or a lot of yarns want to grow, and you have to fight against that.
I talked to a gal this week who she is misting her sweaters now to block them, because when she puts the yarn in the thing and then pulls it out to roll it up in a towel or whatever, it's so heavy it just kind of grows just in that moment. And I told her, I said, we kind of throw it in the spin cycle, and
we dump it in, and then
don't have the I'm holding a sweater that's going to grow 5 feet in 2 seconds, and
and if you soak it and you don't get every last little bit of moisture out of it before you block it, if you block it really damp or soaking wet, it will grow. It will, the wetness, the moisture, the added mass in it is just going to be like,
well, and with sweaters, hats, if the hat fits and you like the fit, measure it before you get it wet. Measure all the different bits to where when you block it, if it's too big, kind of mush it back in, and everything will still settle and work out fine. But if you don't measure it, you have no gauge to put it down and go, well,
and gravity is not your friend with things like this too. So again, putting it in the for a hat, if you have a salad spinner, you don't have to throw it in the washing machine, but something to get, some people might worry that, but then there's no water in it. It's still damp. It's the whole thing is, if the fibers are saturated and damp, the idea of blocking will work. It doesn't have to be god awful soaking wet where it takes a week to dry. And then there are different ways hats are funky. If you make them in the round, hats are funky to block, because you have two methods. You can do it like a sweater, like a formally, made in the round sweater, where you lay it out. And again, you want to measure and kind of squish it back into shape. If you just lay it out, it could be much bigger. If you just go, and let it dry, you got to squish it back into shape. And for a hat, there's the danger of then you have seams when you go to put it on your head, or then there's a spot where maybe the color work like was folded and isn't doing what you want it to do. So what I do with a hat, if I'm laying it out flat, I will rotate it. If I have the ability. If I lay it out at home and come into work, I don't have the ability to rotate it every hour or two as it dries, or if I do it overnight. But if it's a day when I'm home, or if I do it here at the shop, I can rotate it. I can try to like kind of, again, make sure that I'm not going to have two creases. The other option is to do it on like a foam head or a balloon, right? You've heard that one too. At something that is round like a head.
You want to measure the circumference.
The danger of that is not only the circumference of what you're putting it on, because it could stretch it. A lot of the foam heads are smaller than the average size head. So that's not as much of a danger, but you've got gravity working against you then, where instead of it laying flat, it is up, and it could decide that gravity is going to pull on the heavier fabric and stretch it out. So it's keeping an eye on that. And on a balloon, I don't do it with balloon. I mean, I have foam heads here now. Sally Beauty Supply, other places, you can order them online. Foam heads are not super expensive if you want to invest in that for your hats. However, the reason I haven't done it on a balloon is I'm worried about not making the balloon the right size or having it pop in my face. I don't know, but I think balloons is an awesome alternative. You just have to make sure you didn't blow a balloon up so big it stretches it out again.
For TAMs, I have heard plates.
I've heard that too, like paper plates, not necessarily putting it on. I put
it on an actual proper plate.
Never mind.
But you want to measure the plate too, because
that can go horribly.
It'll give you the seam for a tam or a beret. It'll give you the seam,
haven't
but
done
it
enough of
might
those.
be bigger than you
Mhm.
expect.
So that's what can help hats become bigger. There's lots of things that can make blocking hats go sideways. But a lot of people and it depends on the material you're making it out of too. I mean, some people will say that acrylic won't change when you block it. And some people will say, oh, yes, it will. I don't know. Sometimes depending on the stitch and everything, I'm just like, why bother? You know, especially with the garter or something like that. It's like, if you like how it fits, let it be.
We've also had people that block hats on their head, like in the summer.
Ooh.
They'll get their hat and block it on their head. And I know like the Army does that with their berets, like you actually shape it on your head and wear it until it's dry. But
that's dedication.
Then it's like your hat forever.
Forever and ever and ever and ever.
But it's a head shaped hat. Yeah.
But again, like for our instance, not the Army's instance, I would try to you let it soak, so it's super saturated, but then I would get as much water out of it as possible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just pull it out and squeeze it and lay it.
No.
I would at least do a towel burrito on it, like with 2 different towels to soak as much moisture out of it as possible, or a salad spinner or the washing machine.
People
Just
laugh at me, but when I do a towel burrito, I like stomp on it.
She does the tarantella on it.
Yeah. Like I do a little dance, whatever, because you want to get as much water out of it as possible. And people are like, well, you can just, you don't want to wring it.
You don't want to wring because that can mess up your stitches.
You want to mash as much water
I hug it and then I might stomp on it. I might not do a dance thing, but I'm going to try to put all of my weight on it in some way. And then if the towel is saturated through, I'm going to find another towel and do it again, because, and again, people will go, oh, but then it's dry. Then you undid all your work. The fibers will still be saturated, believe it or not. Like you're rolling it up in a towel is not going to magically completely dry it. It's not going to happen.
It's like hair. When you wrap your hair up in a towel, it's still damp.
It still has to dry. Yeah. Absolutely. So, but yes, I would say there's only a few hats in here that I have actually taken the time to block. And some of that is just time and energy. And I'm just like, it's done. And I never get around to it. So, but it might depend on the pattern. It might depend, like if it's got lace work in it that I want to open up, then I might block it,
I take does it look like it really needs blocking? Like, I still don't think Rebecca's sweater needs to be blocked.
We'll see. I don't think I blocked my ranunculus ever.
No.
I was thinking about it and I haven't. And people all say it looks pretty. So, it depends. Some things I have, like some sweaters I definitely have blocked, and it has changed. Like some things that didn't need blocking, I still block them and I like the look afterwards. So that becomes a personal choice question. That's like someone coming in and saying, but what are summer colors? My answer to that question might disappoint you. And if you want an answer because you have something in your head, go with what's in your head. Don't ask me because I'm going to have a different answer. Anyway, I'm sure there was something else I was hoping to talk about because there's all kinds of fun things. I don't think I have any fun pet stories. I do, but I don't. And we're out of time. So we'll see if anything crazy happens over the weekend to report. Sit and Stitch is tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m. with the shop phone number
828-877-3550.
And by tomorrow night, depending on when you're watching this, I'm talking about Friday. Our next Sunday afternoon Sit and Stitch, which is a chunky 4 hours long on a Sunday afternoon, is October 17th, and that will be on Facebook Live and Zoom with the same code. We are hovering and lingering at 598. We got to 99 and then dropped back down.
500 been playing with the computer.
598 subscribers. We need to be on the safe side. We need about 4 of y'all out there, if you're watching and not subscribed, to hit that subscribe button, and everybody gets a sale. And it might even be a teensy bit more than the last, just a teensy bit, just a little bit. So help us make that happen. And I was thinking this week would be the week we'd be announcing it, and it hasn't happened yet. So
we had a
maybe
knitter in
Tuesday.
yesterday who's waiting for the sale.
I know there are multiple people out there who are waiting for the 600 sale. And guess what? Get your friends to subscribe and then we'll have it. If you want it and you're like, why hasn't it happened yet? You need to help us. So find people who might be interested, either just have them watch and see if they organically subscribe, or just say, hey, like pester your family. Hey, subscribe for me. I need a sale. Doesn't hurt anybody.
It's easy.
So, we have a Patreon account if you'd like to monetarily support us, but that is not necessary. We love y'all. We love that you're watching, and we should have opened the shop 5 minutes ago. So,
The horrors.
yeah,
It's pouring rain.
it's
but
pouring. Yeah,
that hasn't stopped people the last 2 days. so-
pouring rain. We never know if it's gonna be. It's raining out, I'm not coming in, or if it's gonna become. It's raining out, I have nothing else to do. I'm going shopping for yarn.
A couple of our sales yesterday we're doing a bike road trip and it's raining, so we need yarn.
We need yarn. We need something to do inside. All right. We will talk to y'all later. Come to Sit and Stitch, or we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.